statistics don't lie. The future of agriculture is increasingly female. There are now nearly 1 million female farm operators and over 500,000 additional women landowners who lease their land to farmers. Many of these women do have a strong conservation ethic and are deeply committed to healthy farmland, farm families, and farm communities. But women face gender-related barriers to managing their land for long-term sustainability. And while women increasingly are the primary decision makers on farms and inclined toward conservation, they are underrepresented at USDA conservation programs. American Farmland Trust firmly believes that women are the ideal partners in farmland protection and in putting on conservation practices, and that we need to do more to reach them. American Farmland Trust has put together something called Women for the Land Learning Circles. We introduce and connect them to the agencies and personnel who can help them accomplish their goals and plan for long-term management of their land, whether it is to farm it, to develop a lease with a tenant, to develop tools as wills and trusts to pass on the land, or to protect the land through a conservation easement. We create local peer groups that empower women to be resources to each other. Bottom line, Women for the Land Learning Circles are conversations. They're conversations about your land, your plan, how to put conservation on the land, and protecting your legacy for the future. We hope you enjoy these individual conversations with agencies and farmers who have gone through many of the things that you have. I'm here with Jen Albright from Goldfinch Meadows Farm. Jen, thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming.
So Jen, tell me about your farm business and what do you produce and where do you sell it?
We raise grass-fed beef, and it's a cross between Angus and Seminole, and we mainly market it on social media and word of mouth and friends and family.
So how long have you had the farm?
We've had the farm for 5 years now. Since my mother-in-law passed away, we decided that we were going to buy the farm so we could make sure that it stayed a farm and that it stayed in our family.
But it's a different industry than your mother-in-law.
Well, they bred and raced thoroughbred horses, and that was not something that my husband and I thought we would want to do with the farm, but we knew we had a responsibility to the land. And okay, well, what do we do with it? So we thought, what a better way than to have some cows graze down the pastures and then in turn feed our family and the families in the community.
So I know you've worked a lot with USDA and state agencies. Can you tell us a little bit about who you've worked with?
Oh my goodness. Well, when we first bought the farm, we didn't really know what we were doing. So we went to the farm show for research purposes, and we came across the Know Your Farmer exhibit, and I met Susan Perry. She's with the NRCS. Since meeting Susan, I've worked with the Pennsylvania Grazing Lands Coalition. I've worked with Penn State Extension. I've worked with our local conservation district, and I've also been in touch with the local grazing network. I've gone to a few pasture walks at the farms in our area, so it's been a really great experience.
What do you think would be important for women landowners and farmers to know about running a farm?
Well, first and foremost, I feel like they need to know that in all the time that I have been around farmers, I've never met one that has made me not feel equal to them. There's never a dumb question. They're always eager to tell you what did and didn't work on your farm or their farm. And women, sometimes I think we limit ourselves. In our minds, we think, oh, I'm just a girl. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to ask this question. But in all reality, we are a powerhouse, the multitaskers of the universe, if you think about it. And so they should never shy away from anything that they feel like they want to do. I say go for it. And I also think that it's important to bring up, if your spouse or your partner or significant other is still here with you, everyone has a role on their farm. It's important for you to know exactly what your partner does. My husband crushed his leg in 4 years. In December, it'll be 4 years. And he was in the hospital for a month and a half, I believe. And I had to know what he did. Luckily for me, him and I are like two peas in a pod. And the only thing I ran into is that I couldn't find drills and things when I needed to fix fence. But now I have myself a handy dandy pink toolkit. So he can't take my pink drill, at least he won't anyway. But know what your partner does, and just for the sense of business continuity and for your own sanity.
So what are your future hopes for agriculture in Pennsylvania and goals for your farm?
Well, my hopes for agriculture in Pennsylvania is that farmers get the credit that they're due. And, you know, if anything has brought to light the fragileness of our food system, it's been this pandemic. And I've noticed a lot of folks are turning more to farm to table type of movements and buying from their local farmers. And I would love to see more of that in Pennsylvania. And so from that standpoint, that's what I would love to see happen for agriculture in PA. As far as our farm, I do tallow soaps, and I plan on doing a little farm store where, you know, maybe I have local crafters bring some things. So that's what I want to do with our farm. And I also want to make sure that we preserve our farm at some point. My hope is that my kids will want to carry on our farm and treat it as a legacy to us, the same way we're trying to treat it as a legacy of my husband's parents. So that would be my hopes for our farm.
Thank you, Jen. It's been great being here.
Thank you. It was nice having you.
Here with Michael Snyder, who is the District Conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Michael, thanks so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So Michael, tell me a little bit about yourself and your position, and how do you help agricultural farmers?
Well, I've been in the conservation field for 20 years. I started out with the Lebanon County Conservation District in 2000. And in 2005, I moved over to NRCS as a soil conservationist. And 6 years later, I became the district conservationist. And I oversee field office operations in Lebanon, Dauphin, and Perry counties.
What happens when you go out on your first visit and then follow-up visits with an agricultural producer, and what can they expect at these different meetings?
You know, the primary thing, the first and foremost thing, is to determine what the farmer's objectives are. You know, NRCS brings a multidisciplinary approach to the planning process at looking at you know, a variety of things from cropland to livestock, grazing, wildlife, and forestry work. So there's a real broad spectrum of things that we can look at. So one of the first things we'll do is we'll do a full inventory of what the infrastructure is and what their management capabilities are and what resources are available. And then we'll go through the process of working with the participant to identify resource concerns on their operation, whether they're ones that they've already identified themselves or ones that they didn't perceive as being a concern previously.
So in the end, then they would have a conservation plan, which is a collaborative process with you.
Yeah, so the conservation plan is a record of the decisions that are made by the producer. So alternatives are presented, and the alternatives could be, you know, each situation is very unique. You know, no two farms are the same, and you know, we could present them with with an alternative that is low cost, but potentially higher in inputs of labor and maintenance, or to address that same resource concern, we could have something that has a higher initial investment, financial investment, and lower inputs in labor and maintenance. So the key is that the landowner is the one that's making the decision on which alternative is going to fit their situation the best.
What are your hopes for the future of farming in Pennsylvania?
I hope that at some point in time the general public understands how fragile our food and fiber supply really is. And these are good, hardworking people doing what they love, and they deserve to be shown the appreciation and maybe a little bit of empathy for what's going on and what they're doing for society and the world as a whole. And I hope that it's our intention that NRCS will be there in order to provide sound science-based planning to make sure that those farms continue to be sustainable for generations to come.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
I'm here with Katie Doster and Beth Yeager, who are from the Lebanon County Conservation District. Hi, Katie and Beth.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So, Katie, tell me a little bit about yourself and your position and what you do for agricultural landowners.
Yeah, so I've been the district manager for about 2 years. Prior to that, I was the ag team leader for 5 years. So now I do a lot of the oversight with the staff, helping them and guiding them. But I also still work in the ag sector. So we work through various delegated programs in nutrient management, Chesapeake Bay program. And then we also do assistance with conservation planning and manure management plans.
So Beth, what is your position and what do you do for agricultural producers?
I'm the agricultural team leader. I've been the team leader for about a year. Before that, I was an agricultural conservation specialist for about 4 years. I do a lot of conservation planning and manure management planning and a lot of field work, and I also assist our NRCS office with design work and some surveying.
So Beth, how does your work with the district complement what NRCS and Extension does?
We actually have a really close working relationship with NRCS. We're really familiar with their programs that they use to fund and install best management practices. So a lot of times we'll meet with clients and discuss the steps that they'll need to take to acquire any desired best management practices through NRCS. And then we work with them to assist with conservation planning and a little bit of the technical assistance as well. Penn State has really great field-specific data. So a lot of times we refer our farmers there for any specific help with like insects, weeds, pesticides and herbicides, and much more. They do so much stuff. They're a really great resource. So it's really nice to know which office is good for which information so we can kind of direct producers in the right direction without too much hassle on their end.
So are there any cost for your services?
No. We are free of charge.
Okay. So Katie, what do you love about agriculture in your county?
So I love working with the farmers directly. I think farmers are some of the most humbling and hardworking people I've ever met. They do back-breaking work on a daily basis. They don't get days off. They work 365 days a year. And I think it's very admirable what they do.
Beth, what about you?
I love the absolute passion and love for the ag industry in our community in the county. A lot of our farms are smaller and family run, so it's really a privilege to serve them and to help them continue to do what they love to do in life.
Thank you, Katie and Beth.
Thank you.
I'm here with Dale Voigt, who is the extension agent in Lebanon County. Dale, are you primarily the field crops agent?
Yes. Yeah, I primarily cover corn, soybeans, wheat, barley, alfalfa.
So what are the programs and educational workshops that Penn State Extension offers to your farmers in your county?
Well, there's a lot. We've gone to a team structure. So I'm on the crops team, so our team would offer first mandate from our federal mandate is to provide pesticide credit training. So we do that, and then in addition to that, there's soil fertility trainings on every crop, corn, soybeans, wheat, barley, alfalfa, hay crops. There's usually small issue-based workshops.
So do you have field days?
We do. We have a research station just south of here that we do our primary field days that occur usually in key times depending on what you're looking at. So our small grains would be in March, April time frame, and then we usually have a May, June showing of the varieties. And then June usually, if we have any summer issues, you know, storms and pest outbreaks, spotted lanternfly, those kind of things, that would come in June. And then in the fall, we would have some workshops on soil sampling, gathering, analysis, those kind of things.
Is there any cost for your services?
No, our costs you know, are all paid for through our joint venture between the federal and the state and the local dollars, so there's no charge. We do charge for some more workshops. We've had to go that model. There might be a small nominal charge. If we have a publication in agronomy, we use the Penn State Agronomy Guide, and that's about $25 that they can get an online version for $15. So we do have to pay for some of those items. And if we have a workshop, I usually include that in the cost and then plus the meal.
So what's your hopes for the future of agriculture in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think my hopes for Pennsylvania is that we have a unique situation because we have a population center so close. And they need to capitalize on the local production. And I think the situation that we're in now, I just called for getting some of my cattle butchered, and they're out till March.
Because there's such a demand.
Such a demand for local. So when you look at you mentioned all of our courses, we had a meats course on how to produce your own meat or become a meat processor. It was, we had, I think, 200 or 300 people sign up for it. Living on a few acres, just raising a garden, having some chickens for eggs and those kind of things. We had, you know, hundreds of people on those webinars, which is crazy. So the amount of people that are interested in their ag production now, it's like an ideal time. So I'm really optimistic that if we can get farmers linked up with the right venues to get the products to the clientele, which are right down the road, it'll be a win-win scenario.
Dale, thank you for being here today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm here with Craig Samidis, who is an agricultural preservation specialist with the Lebanon County Conservation District. Craig, tell me a little bit about yourself and your position, and how does your position help agricultural producers in this county?
I've recently got this job. I've been here for a year, and I graduated from Penn State, and I do farmland preservation. And so we help preserve farms and make sure it doesn't get developed.
So tell me, what is farmland preservation? I mean, you talked a little bit about not being developed, but why is it important?
We get an easement on the land so we can prevent buildings from being put in place that aren't agricultural. So if a developer were to purchase a preserved farm, they wouldn't be able to develop it. So by preserving farmland, we keep it as farmland.
So how many acres in this county are already preserved?
We have 19,300 preserved currently, with 600 in process, so we're almost at the 20,000 mark. And then we have 3,500 on our waiting list currently.
So what would a conservation easement, you talked a little bit about this, offer a landowner? Why would they want to do this?
Right, so we offer a cap of $2,500 per acre for an easement, and this is based on their appraisal. So they get paid for the acreage they preserve, and then it also helps keep the stewardship of the land, and if they're interested in keeping it as farmland, this is a good way to assist with that.
So if someone was interested in it, who would they contact?
They would contact me at the Conservation District, and you can get my information on the Lebanon County Conservation District website, and then I can help the farmers go through the application process.
So Craig, what do you love about agriculture in this county?
I really appreciate how many people want to preserve. We have 35 people on our waiting list currently, and that's a big decision because an easement is a lifetime. And what do we say, forever and a day, because it's in perpetuity. So there's all these people who want to keep farmland as farmland and preserve that mindset of Lebanon County being a farming county.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you for having me.
American Farmland Trust is the only national conservation organization dedicated to protecting farmland, promoting sound farming practices, and keeping American farmers on the land. AFT's innovative work led to a national movement to save the land that sustains us. No farms, no food. Since 1980, American Farmland Trust has helped to permanently protect more than 6 million acres of farmland and ranch land. Learn more at www.farmland.org.